Dear listener, before the story begins, I ask you to subscribe to my channel. This is the best motivation at the start. And we are starting. Recently, my wife's closest companion, Samantha, relocated to our flat. Initially, I couldn't have fathomed that she would establish herself so firmly in our square footage. She resided with us and had no plans to vacate. For an extended period, I had to slumber in the kitchen. One day I discovered that Samantha dislikes men and had become my wife's romantic partner. A first-person account from Ethan. Samantha is experiencing some minor difficulties with her family. Would you object if she stays the night with us? My wife Natalie inquired one day. I'd been acquainted with Samantha for a considerable time. She was even the maid of honor at Natalie and my wedding. I can't say I was ecstatic about this request, but I permitted it. In my naivety, I anticipated that Samantha would genuinely only remain one night. What happened to her? I asked Natalie when she concluded the phone call. Her husband threw her out of the house. What a jerk. Not only was he unfaithful to her himself, but Samantha was also deemed guilty. How do you men always manage to find someone to blame? In response, I shrugged my shoulders. If I were to trust everything Natalie had just recounted, then Samantha's husband was indeed a scoundrel. But I don't dismiss the possibility that Samantha could easily present everything in such a way as to depict the man in a negative light. For women, it's simpler than anything to accomplish. While Samantha was making her way to us, Natalie and I tried not to squander time. We reside in a 2-bedroom flat. In one room is us, and in the other are the children. Natalie and I have 2 children, boys named Paul and Kevin. Therefore, the issue of where to accommodate Samantha, even for one night, was pertinent. Well, we can't just prepare her a bed in the kitchen. The boys can enter at any moment, and she won't even be able to change a tire. Then let's do this. I'll sleep in the kitchen tonight, and you and Samantha can stay in our room, I proposed to Natalie, who didn't argue. In such a situation, it's challenging to devise anything else. A couple of hours later, Samantha arrived, and her arrival turned into a small evening gathering. Ethan, you have no idea how brazen he has become. I suspected before that he had someone, but lately, he's stopped even attempting to conceal his mistress from me. Samantha began recounting her difficult womanly fate. Despite the fact that she is considered my wife's best friend, and we have known each other for many years, I am not acquainted with her husband. We never had occasion to cross paths at joint events. We never went anywhere together as families, so I could only judge him by the words of our guest. The complaints about men stretched well past midnight. Since it was taking place in the kitchen, my bedroom for one night, I had to listen to all these outpourings while my Natalie agreed with her friend. During this night that Samantha spent in our home, she thoroughly annoyed me with her endless complaints about her husband and the fact that Natalie agreed with her in everything. I had the feeling that I had fallen into some kind of man-hating club, and then I began to feel completely superfluous. Ethan, here's the thing. Remember how we talked yesterday about Samantha only staying one night? Such an introduction from my wife could only mean one thing. Now she would ask if I minded Samantha staying with us longer. I could see it coming from a mile away. It's just that she really has nowhere else to go, and she hasn't had time to lease an apartment yet. She has a meeting with a realtor in the evening. Once she rents a place, she won't bother us anymore. But you can't just throw your wife's friend out on the street. Although Samantha had irritated me, not letting in a person who has nowhere to go would be too much. The meeting with the realtor was unsuccessful. The apartment offered to Samantha did not suit her. Now she went to similar meetings with realtors almost every day after work. It's not hard to guess that all this time she was living with us in the flat, and for me, the kitchen had managed to turn into a living room. At first, having another woman residing in my flat bothered me. I had to give up some habits, and it was impossible to be alone with my wife, as Samantha could enter the room at any moment. Then I got a little accustomed to it, and after some more time, I even began to manage to see the positives in it. One woman is good, but 2 is better. Samantha strove to assist with the housework, regularly spent evenings at the stove preparing various dishes, and at the end of the month, even contributed part of the money for the rent. In parallel with this, I began to feel that Natalie and I were growing apart. She began to spend all her free time with Samantha. I have always believed that being jealous of your wife's friends is the last thing a man who is not a loafer will do. I don't consider myself one of those, but it's quite probable that I could soon join their ranks. Natalie, let's go to the cinema on the weekend. The children. My mother has already agreed to take them to her place. She misses them very much. And you and I haven't gone anywhere together for so long, I suggested to my wife. In fact, I didn't need this movie at all. I'm not a big fan of going to movie theaters, but at that moment, it was important to make sure that Natalie still wanted to spend time with me. Of course, you're right. We probably haven't been to the cinema in ages. I don't even know what's playing now. Where should we go? If you don't mind, I'll ask Samantha where she wants to go more, Natalie chirped joyfully. But what does Samantha have to do with it? Did I invite Samantha a couple of minutes ago? I invited you, my wife. And then everything fell into place.
I think you won't mind if Samantha goes with us. I don't want to leave her alone. She's going through a difficult time right now. You don't know, but she filed for divorce yesterday. Natalie explained to me. And here I was naively assuming that Samantha would rather reconcile with her husband than rent an apartment and get out of ours. Now it's definitely not worth counting on that anytime soon. She only filed for divorce yesterday. Now, in the best case, they will get divorced in a month. It turns out that all this time she'll be hanging out with us. I'm not used to making hot-headed, unweighted decisions. I don't remember exactly what and when was pissing me off. But Samantha managed to do it with ease. My hands were trembling with anger, and I was literally a couple of steps away from making a scene. But at the last moment, I restrained myself. Screaming and breaking dishes won't solve anything in this situation. It can only make things worse. Because I saw how dependent Natalie was on Samantha. I just couldn't understand the secret of such dependence. To begin with, I tried to put myself in Samantha's place. Nothing sensible came of it. I imagined that I had a fight with Natalie and left the house. Yes, it's quite likely that I would stay one night at a friend's place, but no more than that. The next day I would already be looking for an apartment. I see nothing good in inconveniencing people in their own home, and that's assuming that I'm simply sure my friend would not kick me out. On the contrary, he would offer to stay as long as possible. Besides, Natalie and I lived with 2 children, not in a 3-story cottage where there would be enough space for a company of soldiers. We have an ordinary 2-bedroom flat. To be honest, sometimes it feels cramped for the 4 of us. And now there's Samantha, too. Natalie, when will Samantha move out from our place? You understand it's not quite normal for her to live with us for so long? Can't she really lease an apartment? Or doesn't she have relatives she could stay with?
Ethan, you don't know that there's no room for an apple to fall in Samantha's parents' flat. Her sister lives there with her husband, nieces and nephews. Her brother with his girlfriend periodically visits. 8 people in 3 rooms. Well, where can Samantha go? And where can she go with us? There are 5 of us in 2 rooms. She can't live with us forever. After this conversation, Natalie took offense at me and then didn't talk to me for several more days. She only spoke when there was an urgent need. Ethan, you'll dopey around and soon this Samantha will evict you. First to the balcony, and then she'll move your things to the garage altogether. Be more careful with this. Women are so cunning, my friend and garage neighbor Alex advised me. Although why am I upset? We'll see each other more often. I'll come visit you in the garage. Alex and I met that evening in a beer hall located not far from my house. After the falling out with Samantha and her husband, I began to stop by there almost every day. I just didn't want to go home at all. In some ways, Alex was right. Slowly but surely, Samantha was forcing me out of my home. I wonder if she was doing it on purpose. And then I began to notice that Natalie had changed her attitude towards the male sex. Several times I started the old tune that it would be nice for Samantha to pack her things and get out of our flat. Ethan, but how does she bother you so much? She doesn't constrain us one bit. You have a sofa, a TV, a refrigerator with food in the kitchen. What else do you need? Now Natalie, I'm sure at the prompting of her friend, began to think that men are unpretentious creatures who are on the lower rung of evolution. Alex is right. At this rate, I will soon be living in the garage. A sofa, a TV, and a refrigerator are all I need for happiness. Talking to Natalie about Samantha moving out was useless. I had a few more ways to evict the intrusive girlfriend in stock. The most extreme of them is to just take her and throw her out, and then throw out all her things after her. But given Samantha's influence on Natalie, I wasn't sure that my wife wouldn't follow her. I went the other way. If before I spoke about Samantha exclusively in a whisper or in her absence, now I simply stopped restraining myself. I returned to the discussion of the issue of Samantha's relocation, almost every evening, and I tried to do it in such a way that the essence of our conversation would definitely reach the ears of her friend. It didn't help. Samantha was impenetrable. She continued to behave with me as if nothing was happening. It was as if she wasn't aware of my position, although I'm sure she heard all the conversations with Natalie perfectly. The situation was radically changed by an unexpected acquaintance. Out of already established habit, I was spending the evening after work in the beer hall over a mug of beer, and then a man completely unknown to me sat down next to me. At first I thought he had confused me with someone. "You're the husband of my practically ex-wife Samantha's friend, right?" the stranger asked me. I nodded in response. "I know that Samantha lives with you." After these words, I had time to rejoice. Finally, he had come to his senses and decided to take her home. But no. "You be more careful with her. She destroyed our family, and now I'm sure she's working on destroying yours." It was aptly noted. Drive her away somewhere. Do you think why she couldn't live normally with me? It's because she's a man-hater. She needs relationships with women. I did not expect such a turn of events. What to do next? Has my wife really got herself a lover, not a boyfriend, right under my nose? With a lover, everything would be much simpler. At least you know how to behave. But what to do with a girlfriend? In the evening, when I came home, I dragged my wife into the kitchen for a talk. I was determined. I don't need my wife cheating on me with her friend. Natalie did not dodge for long and confessed everything. "So let Samantha pack her things right now. I don't care where she goes. We don't live in the Stone Age. In the worst case, she can spend the night in a hostel. Maybe she will meet her love. If she doesn't pack, I'll help her. I'll send her off the balcony for speed." I confronted Natalie with the fact. "If you kick her out, then I'll go after her." Apparently, Natalie thought to scare me and force me to abandon my decision, but I was not in that state then. "Please, I can help you pack your things to keep you company." Natalie freaked out and went to tell her lover everything, and at the same time to pack her things. She really left with Samantha that evening. I had to tell the children that Mom went to help Aunt Samantha settle into her new apartment. They seemed to believe it. Samantha and my wife's relationship did not last long. After about a week, Natalie appeared at home. We talked for a long time, she cried, asked for forgiveness. I told her that I had forgotten everything, that I forgave her. But in fact, I'm not sure. No matter how you spin it, Natalie cheated on me. Let it not be with a man, but still, the betrayal took place. But we have 2 children. I want them to grow up in a complete family. And I set a condition for Natalie that Samantha should never be on the doorstep again, as well as any other close friends who are capable of destroying family happiness.